I got my open water scuba certification, and I'm going to tell you all about what that process was like, where I went and got it done at, what my day-to-day schedule looked like while I was there, and then just my overall experience scuba diving, and if I would do it again, where I would go, that sort of thing. My name is Bailey, and I am a travel content creator, mainly on TikTok and Instagram, but also here on YouTube. I spent the last 3 years traveling the world, and I share all my advice on life in our 20s, traveling in our 20s, budget travel, basically everything you could think of how to actually travel while you're young, that you can find on all my pages. I have more informational stuff about how to actually make it happen on this account, and then more about my personal day-to-day life on my TikTok and my Instagram. If you didn't know, Honduras is one of the dive capitals of the world, which is why I really wanted to go there to get my open water certification. Beautiful water is pretty close to the US. It was a really easy flight. I just had to go down to Miami and then from Miami straight to Roatan, and it was an incredible 10 days. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the dive shop that I went through, how I even got open water certified and what that even looks like, and then how you can too. So if you're interested in more, let's get into the video. When I was looking to get scuba certified, I knew I wanted to stay somewhere kind of close to the US, so Central America, the Caribbean was kind of where I was looking. And if you didn't know, Honduras is like one of the scuba capitals of the world, and so that's where I had my sights set on. I ended up in Utila, which is a tiny island off the coast of Honduras, and right next to Roatan. That's the one more people have probably heard of. But the island is completely dedicated to scuba diving, so it made it such an incredible experience to be doing this there with a bunch of other travelers doing the same thing. The main reason I wanted to get scuba certified is, one, I love being in the water. Two, I wanted to push myself to do something new, and I'm really all about trying new hobbies and getting out there and exploring your comfort zone a little bit. So getting scuba certified is something I've had on my bucket list for a long time. Whenever I'm traveling, there's always opportunities to go, and I always have to pass up on them. And so this is something that I've been really wanting to get, and I'm so happy I did because it was the most incredible experience. I ended up getting scuba certified with Alton's Dive Center on the island, and I literally cannot recommend them more. It's owned by a local Honduran couple. His name is Alton, and the whole company that they have is incredible. You're supporting a local business while you're there, and it is a really tiny island, so the more you can do to support the local community, the better. And the accommodations were so nice. We had everything we needed. They helped us with any questions that we had. I truly loved the staff there, and I felt so supported throughout this whole process. Process, let's get into what that looks like to actually get scuba certified. And I'm specifically talking about your open water certification. You can go past that. There's open water, then there's advanced open water, and then you have dive master and rescue diver and all the other things and all the other steps that you can get. I'm specifically talking about the very first step, which is your open water scuba certification. So what this process looks like is it's about 4 to 5 days, depending on how fast you want to move, how much time you have, that sort of thing. So you'll talk it through with them beforehand. We ended up doing 5 days just because we were in no rush. And so here's kind of how it's going to be laid out. The first step is everything in the classroom. This is where you're going to spend about 4 hours watching videos. It basically just goes over everything that you need to know. It is a very comprehensive view of the whole process, which can be a little overwhelming. It's a little boring, but it's all information that you'll need to know. And honestly, as someone who really values information, it made me feel a lot better going into this whole process, having a basis of everything that we were about to learn. It's kind of one of those things where you're learning, it's just exposure therapy. So you're going to see it on the video, then your instructor is going to teach it to you, then you're going to practice it, and then you're going to actually do it. So the more times that you can be exposed to the same thing, the more likely you are to remember it. Once you're done watching all the videos, then you have to take a bunch of quizzes on it. You'll go over it with your instructor and all the answers that you get wrong and all the answers that you have questions on. And then after that, you get to get in the water. So this is what they call the confined water section of the whole process, which is where you are in really shallow water. Sometimes it's a pool. For us, it was right off the dock in about 6 feet of water. So if we needed to, we could easily just pop our heads up. We were just on our knees under the water, being able to practice all these skills. Your instructor will go over all the skills on land beforehand. You have to learn how to set up all your equipment, learn what everything does, what everything is, and then you get into the water. Weirdest part about getting into the water is obviously learning how to breathe. It's weird how much thought you have to put into breathing at first, but then the second you start doing other things, it just comes so naturally. It really didn't feel that weird, and the skills were a lot less intimidating than I thought they would be. Some of these skills include flooding your mask and clearing it, taking your mask off, having to swim with your mask off and then putting it back on, simulations of running out of air and what that feels like. So they'll turn off your tank as you're breathing so you know what it would feel like if you were actually running out of air. Being able to switch regulators and clear them. Everything has to be done done completely underwater, because if you were scuba diving and everything was happening, you might be 40 feet under and you need to be able to figure this out while you're below water. And things like having to change a regulator and clearing it, things like clearing your mask, it all seems really, really scary. And it's a weird feeling because you're having to only breathe through your mouth while your nose has water going into it. So you really just have to practice. And that's what the confined water section is for. You're with the teacher. You could pop your head up if you absolutely needed to, but the goal is obviously to stay under. You're just sitting there on your knees going through all these different skills. There's a lot more that you have to pass to be able to go to the next round. There's like different segments of this. But once you passed all of them, you get to start your open water dives. Now, open water dives are really fun. You get to go out on the boat. You're going to actual dive sites, but they're dive sites that have more of a sandy bottom so that you can practice skills at the beginning and the end. Our instructor did a really cool thing where we would practice skills as we were actually diving. So we got to almost treat them like fun dives, but then periodically he would stop us. He might like tap you, or he'd tap his tank so that it makes a noise. Everyone would need to look at him, and then he'll tell you what skill you need to perform. You perform the skill. He lets you know if you're good or if you have to redo it, and then from there you get to move on to the next thing. So it's kind of a fun way to still explore, get another dive, but then you're also still doing your skills that you just practice in confined water really deep underwater. Once you pass all your open water dives, then it's just into fun dives. The really cool thing about Alton's is that you get 2 fun dives included. It's definitely worth looking into. Some places include them in the overall cost, and some places they're added on as extras. I think it was cool that it was included in the whole cost, because then once you're scuba certified, you can actually go with your friends and go scuba diving for the first time, where it is more of a recreational activity. You don't have to do any of these tests. It's just for fun. And so that ended up being our very last day. It was just 2 fun dives. Down what my life looked like while I was here. Like I said, it was about 5 days of training. I would wake up at 7 a.m. every day because whatever class we had would start usually at 8. So I'd get up in the morning. The town's super small. Sometimes we'd walk and go get coffee. They also have breakfast on site at Alton's as well if you want to grab something quick to eat, or you can also just run to the store. Then from there, class would start at 8. It would either be an open water dive, a confined dive, or the classroom. You'd usually have about 2.5 hours of class, and then you'd break for lunch. We'd go out to grab lunch somewhere. Alton's also offers a lunch if you want that. And then we'd really just like tan on the docks, hang out outside, relax for a little bit, and then we'd have another afternoon session. The afternoon sessions usually started around 1, usually go until like 3 or 4 depending on what we were doing. After that, you get back, you hang out and watch the sunset, you shower, you wash all your equipment, and then we'd all usually as a group meet up. Cool thing about Alton's is that it is almost hostel style. They have dorm rooms available, they also have private rooms available. We all just became this little tight-knit family, and every single night we'd have family dinners, whether that be making our own dinner or going out to eat. We would always meet up together first, and then we'd go and walk to whatever dinner spot we picked for the night. I found Utila really cool because there was always something going on at night, whether it be trivia, karaoke, an actual DJ party on the beach. There's always just something that you could do at night as a social activity beyond diving, which I thought was really, really cool. You could tell how close-knit of a community it was and how it was built around creating community for these divers. Basically, we would just start the same thing the next day, and every day looked very, very similar in how our schedule went. You would just be inserting those classes with either classroom, confined, or open water. If you're looking to get open water certified, the prices are honestly really reasonable, which is half the reason why I went to Honduras. I wanted to go to a different country to do it. I wanted to make a vacation out of it, and then just cannot beat the cost. I think Alton's prices start at like $375, which includes your accommodation for the 5 days while you're there, plus all the actual certifications involved. And obviously they go up to there based on what type of room that you get. If you get one with AC, without AC, a private room, a private bathroom. I honestly had the most incredible experience diving. It was crazy to me how meditative it felt. When you're diving under the water, all you can hear is your breath for an hour, and it is so peaceful. You're not scared at all. Like, not once was I actually worried about any of the wildlife that I could come in contact with. It was so peaceful. You're moving so slow, listening to your own breathing, spotting the coolest fish. Sometimes when we were diving, we'd be diving through these caves or almost like these valleys made of coral, which was really cool. There were so many eagle rays and eels, lionfish, rainbow fish, triggerfish, different stingrays. Some people saw turtles. I didn't get to see turtles on this trip. Tons of bait fish and tarpon, and it was such a cool experience. Everything felt so magical when I was under the water. And honestly, I wasn't that intimidated the whole time. Jose ended up being my teacher at Alton, so request him if you go because he was incredible. But I felt so safe with him the whole time. If I was underwater and something went wrong, I knew he would have it figured out. He was so knowledgeable, and he also taught us so well that I pretty much figured out that I could handle any situation that could go wrong to an extent. So now it has me really excited to go scuba diving in more places. There are a million places in the world that you can go get scuba certified, or you can go scuba diving. It makes me so mad that I was not scuba certified when I was just in Southeast Asia this time last year, because there are so many beautiful dive sites to go diving there. But this was just a really cool experience to have in my 20s that can now carry with me through the rest of my life and have more incredible diving experiences. Oh my god, we also got to dive with dolphins one day. So we were out on the dive boat and they ended up spotting some dolphins, and we followed them a little bit, and then they stopped when we were close and we got to slide in the water, and the dolphins were all around us. Coolest thing to just swim around and observe these dolphins in the distance, all swimming, and be in the water with them in their natural habitat, just observing them. It's the most ethical way that you can swim with dolphins, because you're not actually feeding them, you're not chumming the waters, you're not riding them or touching them, you're just watching them as it should be. And it was so, so magical. I know they were also on the hunt for whale sharks when we were there. It wasn't whale shark season when I went because I was there in September, but they did end up seeing one. It was the one day that we couldn't go diving, because if you know anything about diving, you can get sick if you have too much nitrogen in your blood. And so from going from below sea level to then going to fly in an airplane is really unsafe if you don't wait a certain amount of hours. So I was in my day before I was supposed to leave and I wasn't able to dive, and that is the day that they saw the whale shark. Very upset about that. Still high up on the bucket list to go diving with whale sharks. It just wasn't for me on this trip, and that is okay. I also really recommend going to Utila in the off season. I was there in September. It is a little bit rainy, but it really just rained every day from like 5 until 7. It wasn't that big of a deal. Every other time of day was beautiful. Weather was perfect. It wasn't too hot in the nights because the rain cooled down a little bit. I just really recommend Utila, and I really recommend Alton's Dive Center if you get a chance. That is all that I have for this video. I hope it eased your mind a little bit about what the certification process looks like to get open water certified, and to maybe push you to book the actual trip. It's something that I'm so happy I did. It was the perfect vacation. Yes, you're kind of still in school, but then we also still had plenty of time just to enjoy. So if you're interested in more cool experiences like this and want to know more about traveling and traveling in your 20s and how to make it your reality, please make sure you subscribe down below.